Hello, everyone. My name is Shannon Pruitt. I'm the Global Chief Marketing Officer of Stagwell Brand Performance Network. And I am very excited because my friend, former client, and friend again, Jenny Wall, who is the Chief Marketing Officer for VideoAmp, is here with me today at the Cannes Lion Festival of Creativity, Stagwell Sport Beach. It's all the mouthful, but we said it all. I'm so happy you're here, so thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me this morning. I'm happy to be here.
Very exciting.
Very exciting.
Okay, so I think, you're kind of an interesting context for, as we think about, we're here on Sport Beach, we were at Cannes, but VideoAmp has, is a large contributor to a lot of the brands and the agencies that are here in Cannes. Can you tell me a little bit about your role at VideoAmp? Obviously, Chief Marketing Officer, but what does VideoAmp do? Share a little bit about that, because I know that that's going to lead us to some new products that you have coming out.
Yeah, about
but
sports.
Let's start with the foundation.
Yeah, well, so VideoAmp is a currency and measurement company, and we're really trying to help revolutionize how we buy, sell, and engage with media, because we've had like one player that's measured media for the last 70 years. And I think competition's good. And I think big data is now available to us that we can actually better measure audiences. We can help CMOs actually more efficiently spend their dollars by going after advanced audiences and using big data and commingled data and identity that we can put in a clean room and be privacy compliant. Like everything's changed. And, I say a lot, people say things are changing. And I say, no, they've changed. And it is time to move on. Game on. I think Aaron Lilly says it about American football is that, the last 10 years we have been using big data. We're a tech first company and we've been doing like 2-a-days and running everything. And now we're at the game time and it's ready to move on. So we measure, like I said, and we're also a currency company. So if you know that, that's basically how things are transacted. And we're doing about 1.5 billion in currency this year, which is a 1,700% jump from last year. Thank you. We're with 98% of the brands out there, both from a network perspective, platform perspective, and agency holdcos. Yeah. So anyway, we're rolling. We just need to scale now. So.
Yeah. So what you're saying is you're doing great.
We're doing great. Yeah, no, it's an exciting time to be in measurement. And I just do want to say quickly is that I'm here because I've been a CMO. Yes, you've been a CMO. Yeah. We've been on both sides of the business. Yes, and we know that one of the hardest things is actually to prove that your money is working. And we want to really hopefully say that you did this with your money. We've more efficiently spent it. And this is the outcomes went up because of that. And making marketers look like revenue setters versus cost centers.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, I think I first saw you speak. I became a fan of Jenny Wall. I think it was 2015 or at Patau, and you were at Hulu. And you did this really interesting exercise, and you had us all turn to one another and said, tell the person next to you what you're a fan of right now. And the whole room sort of exploded in like conversation and passion. And it's like, you have to watch this and you have to do that. And it was such a fascinating, and by the way, I did reuse that at a global summit.
Oh, thank you. Reuse it away.
I know. Stole that right off you. I think I gave you credit.
Oh, it's all good.
But I think also at the time it was really interesting because, you were sort of sitting at the precipice of early streaming culture, right? These titles that had, traditionally been reserved for, network television, et cetera. You were kind of a game changer in the fact that you were also heavily talking at that time around the importance of data and analytics and how, as the CMO, you're asked to be both a data scientist as well as like the tip of the spear on culture and what mattered and how that works. And so, now here we're at Cannes, sport is everywhere. We're talking about fandom all the time in all the ways and all the places, whether we're talking about athletes and brands and sports and, different cultures and all of that kind of good stuff. But I think as a CMO, right, I know you have a new product coming out that is more sports related. How are you thinking about that sort of connectivity, right? Because it's kind of back to your, data analytics, culture, a cultural
right, and brand
storm and brand. And how are you thinking about, first tell us what it is, obviously. Okay. But then also, can you just talk a little bit about how you're thinking about like kind of proliferating that into what is an ecosystem that has also been, like you said, when VideoAmp, it's like there was one player for a long time. Here you are, you've had massive growth. Now you're scaling in product, but also probably, more penetration into other spaces potentially even. Like, how are you thinking about that?
Well, I mean, let's talk about sports first. I mean, sports, as we know, and
Yes.
obviously we all know here.
Is there something going on with sports?
Is there something?
What's going on?
Women's sports, men's sports,
Yeah.
everything is on the rise. Well, sports is the one thing that is keeping linear television alive, but at the same sense, it is moving to streaming, as we can
Yes.
see with Netflix announcement with the Christmas games.
Oh, we had Pato was in here earlier talking about venue.
Pato worked with me
I
at
know.
Hulu. Yeah.
I'm just doing a whole Hulu. Kelly's gonna,
Yeah.
we're just gonna get the whole team. Scott Donovan, we're just gonna do a whole team.
Right, and now some of them are all over at Netflix.
Yeah. Everyone's moving around.
Yeah. So sports is extremely important, and then obviously as we move from linear to digital, we have to be able to measure that because a lot of times it's not apples to apples.
Yeah.
So if you've got, for Amazon Thursday Night Football, we were asked to do secondary reads for currency. So 40 advertisers signed up for it, and we have about 62 now that are interested.
Wow.
Because they want to compare our currency, our output compared to the legacy providers. So
Right.
then our hope is with our new product is that they'll be able to say, I'd rather transact on VideoAmp because they either, and again, we're still in the pilot
Sure,
with
sure.
a lot of partners,
Sure.
including Amazon
Yeah.
and including Fox,
Yeah.
both sides.
course.
But getting that audience right
Yeah.
is imperative as we move forward because it's not going to, it's only getting bigger
Yeah.
and it's only going to be moving more and more to digital.
Yeah.
And we can't just look at there's a sports product out there. The biggest thing is out of home viewing that it doesn't capture sometimes with a panel, right?
Sure.
So our legacy provider has a product that measures in bars and restaurants.
Yeah.
So we can actually accurately get how many eyeballs really watched it because
Yeah.
a lot of people co-view and a lot of people
Yeah,
go
yeah,
to
of
bars
course.
and go to other people's homes.
Yeah.
Our product relies on actually bars and restaurants, like thousands of them that we
Okay.
pull in the TV data versus having to listen, it's a little listen and see if a game is on.
Right.
So our product is more sophisticated. It's commingled data. We have 3 or 4 partners that we bring in. So we think ours is more accurate, better fidelity, and we're hoping that advertisers it'll be more valuable what they
Right.
buy if they transact on us
Right.
with a sports product.
Well, also probably some level of, there's always this drive towards some level of standardization. How do I value something as an investment here versus over here? And whether that's by property or platform, right? I'm looking, we saw it initially in audience development. How can I buy audiences in a way that feels more standardized? Because instead of doing something where I'm doing this here and this here and this here, I'm looking for this audience. And then you kind of manage that contextually and creatively and all the things in terms, but you secure the real estate.
You
right?
secure, yeah.
You secure the real estate. And so on the flip side of that, there's probably value, right, for brands and advertisers and agencies and platforms in terms of understanding their own monetization, their performance against kind of the market.
Yeah, and I also just say, we went from single pod where you had to run one commercial.
Yeah.
And you go to Amazon, you can run 1,000 commercials
Yeah.
to advance audiences.
Yeah.
So you can spend less money to reach the right people, and you actually can see outcomes because we can base on, did we sell more Pepsi because you put an ad in Amazon? And then we can also look at how Amazon or Netflix, how that performance was in the entire media buy.
Right.
So that entire funnel all the way from brand down to programmatic is
Yeah.
really, really important to
and
outcomes.
I think so. It's also you meet with so many interesting people here in Cannes, and it's just sort of this notion of how can you continue to collapse or keep the connected ecosystem, but also collapse the time frame by which someone gets from the moment of exposure to the minute of attribution of whatever. So when you talk about selling more Pepsi, it's yes, but also I think still important in marketing is how do we surround that, which is the beauty of sport. Beauty of culture is brands do invest in surrounding everything so that when it comes time for the VideoAmp piece, it's oh yeah, you've also supported this in all the other ways to invite the audience and continue them into the connection between your brand and whatever it is, pickleball,
Rock
about
climbing.
pickleball,
Yeah.
rock climbing. But then ultimately, when it comes down to like making that connection in media, right? This is going to be, it sounds like it will be super valuable.
I think valuable to brands, valuable to platforms, but also to consumers because you're able to actually connect somebody with an ad that they want. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest problems is, you still on CTV, you still see like the same ad over and over and over again. There's so much to be fixed. And I think we can help over frequency. We can help, consumers feel better about what they're watching.
Yeah.
We can help brands feel better, not to be brand damaging by showing you an ad 17 times in a
Can
pod.
I be part of the pilot?
You can
The
100%. Of course you can,
Can
Shannon.
you personally come into my own streaming ecosystem?
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, and we can tell you if you bought that luggage already.
Yeah.
And we've already showed
Oh,
someone
good.
showed you the
Okay,
ad.
Yeah.
Let's not waste that
I already
dollars.
spent my money there.
Yeah.
Show me something new.
Or shoes, I don't know.
Yeah. Do I need more things? Probably not, but I do buy them. Okay, so we're here. I mean, we're kind of touching on this, but like, what are you really excited about? Like, what are you thinking? Obviously everyone's talking about AI. Obviously everyone's talking, but I think this is like a really interesting space where there's still room for like innovation, right? Measurement and attribution, to your point. And there's a lot of people coming into the space, right? Like ad tech partners everywhere talking about measurement and attribution. But you also have a slightly different background. You actually come from, yes, technology, but also culture. So what are you excited about in terms of like VideoAmp and also just even more generally, if you want to talk about measurement and attribution as a business?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to be at this part of the business. Like I talk a little bit to Peter Lagori, who's my boss now, was my boss at HBO in the 90s. So it's like what comes around, full
around.
circle
Yeah, here we are.
again. But both he and I, we're both come from the entertainment space, and we both have been frustrated for 30 years. So I think what I'm most excited about is actually that we're at this precipice that we actually can make a change that will be like maybe for the next 70 years.
Yeah.
And competition's good. I love it. We're not saying that there should be a multi-currency world right now. It's not saying one partner is going to win.
Yeah.
What I'm excited about is to keep learning, and that's the fun thing about being tech forward is like every day you would create a hypothesis. You're like, oh my God, look what I found. This audience is younger, and like I know a brand's going to love that. So it's really just this like curiosity and being able to like break the system a little bit. So I'm most excited about that, and I really love to help marketers and brands be able to go to their CFOs and be best friends and say, look at what I did. I'm a revenue center. I am not a cost center. So stop cutting me and give me more money.
Yeah, and even it's also, right, like, I think about it. So, I used to sell. Like, I was on the sales side for entertainment companies, for Fremantle and Mark Burnett and all these folks and Simon Fuller, 19. And my job was to package up these sort of turnkey solutions to help you get more dollar and sponsorship value out of American Idol. Mm-hmm. But I could only do so much on my end because then it would go into the media ecosystem and the value of the measurement, right? So those things were bifurcated, right? And so I think you're also doing an interesting job of like collapsing the segments that exist in a cultural, more of the cultural, like, sports properties, entertainment properties, right? Like when you go and invest a bunch of money as a brand in these things as a way to connect culture and consumers and all the good things, this moment of like where you could actually do partnerships of that create that attribution, like all the way down to the last.
And the fandom is like you talk about the fandom part of it of measuring that. So
how do you monetize fandom?
Exactly.
Right, like that's the thing.
And then you look at another thing I'm excited about is I'm doing a panel after this on women's sports, which we believe women's sports is like the the buzzword here.
Is there
but we were saying
going on?
we were waiting for somebody to say it's women's sports and AI. So let's get that buzzword.
I'll just do it right now. Yeah, women's sports and AI. Let's talk about it.
But women's sports, I think, is really incredible right now because it's not. I mean, it's having a moment, but it's also been around for a really long time.
Yeah,
and I think what people are realizing is that women athletes have had to work very, very hard because they're not paid. So they're really, really good at fan engagement.
Yeah.
And so brands, I think, need to understand that like 90% of sponsorships still go to men. And if you look at women, they're 2 times more likely to their fans are to engage. So let's stop looking at the numbers and start looking at the engagement and actually and actually what that means for a brand and what that can mean when someone partners with somebody. And like we just saw Diana Flores down there, who is such an inspiration. And we say like game respects game, like flag football. women's flag football is helping elevate NFL. And so it's
1,000%.
it's also helping
One of Tim
NBA,
Ellis's
WNBA.
priorities, right?
Yeah.
Like we were just with him, and he was talking about, how excited he is about flag football, women's flag football,
Yeah.
and how like my daughter should play. And I'm like, that
Yeah.
sounds like a great idea.
It's so exciting. And it's also, I love debunking that only men watch sports. It's like 49% of people that watch
Definitely
football are women. And I think, I want to say CoverGirl was the first one to come in and put a ad for
Yeah.
makeup. And someone's
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? It's
Yeah.
like, they're here.
They're still
So
here.
we need
Yeah.
a lot of these brave people to actually listen, understand that don't just stereotype these things. Sports is here to stay. Sports is women, sports is men.
Yeah.
And let's give some respect.
Well, and measurement is important in that, right? Because the truth
Yeah.
is, it's interesting. Like, so
You want to get it right.
Yeah, you want to get it right. You also, there are people that still look like, I want to see the trend data. It's like, there is no trend data. We are setting the trend.
Right.
Like, that's what's happening. The trend has been around for a long time. We haven't valued it in the way, and we haven't given it the investment that it needs to create the scaled representation that it actually has.
And discoverability.
Yeah.
That's another thing, is you couldn't find
1,000%.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like the, sort of the success of the NWSL, right? Angel City and like, the other
Yeah,
teams,
Julie
and the
Hayden's
Kansas
doing a
City
great
team
job.
Doing a
Yeah.
great job because, the truth is there's a lot of girls that play soccer and they want to see their idols. And these people have become their idols. And then to your point, they spend time with their fans, right? In a way that is engagement and feels personal.
Right. And storytelling. I think that's another thing
1,000%.
female athletes are great at, is telling their story. And
Telling
so
their story.
not just their, whatever the fashion story of this, but how did they get there?
Yeah.
Like, they're really good at it, and we
Yeah.
need to give them more of a light.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think then it kind of is interesting all the way back around, which is like the more opportunity to measure that.
Yep.
The more confidence
That
you can deliver by that investment, the more investment.
right. And more
Right?
more brands fit.
And
And then
more-
it's all just full
And
circle.
to your
Just
point,
great.
and then a conversation with a CFO that doesn't look like we should do this because there's momentum behind it and it's really important. It's like actually the numbers.
So data
are
doesn't
proving-
lie. Yeah.
Yeah. The data will tell you the story.
Yeah.
Look at the data.
Yeah, and I definitely learned that at Netflix, and thank you for that job that I didn't know anything I was doing, but I learned a lot, because if you come to the table with data,
Yeah.
it's really hard to argue
Yeah.
versus just saying, hey, I think.
1,000%. Let
Yeah.
the data tell the story.
Let the data, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Jenny, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Shannon.
It's so great to spend time with you.
As always,
As always.
yeah.
And enjoy the rest of camp.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I have a badge now so I can get in.
Yeah, you should use that badge and use it wisely because this place gets packed.
Packed.
Yeah, it's
All right.
super
Well,
fun.
congratulations on it
Thank
getting
you.
packed.
We're very excited about it.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you.